Joining me now, my good friend, Stephen Dunn, CEO of Crown Mining. Big shareholder. I'm a big shareholder. You're a big shareholder. You own over 20%.
That's right.
And it's the asset's already there, and it's obviously going to be a lot bigger
if we can spend some money.
Yeah, it's been the worst time for juniors
that I can ever remember.
I can't remember worse than this. I really can't.
I've been doing it since 1974.
Yeah.
And worst market ever.
And
you can't raise money.
And with the electrification of the world, copper, it's not about if, it's about when.
That's right.
And that's the hard part, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And you've been doing investments in 30, 40 years, right?
Yeah. Demand for copper it goes up every single year, and it's because of this electricity drive.
Electrification, it's a tough one. Yeah, and so you got a deposit.
Yep.
And there's silver there.
Yep.
And there's gold there.
We have 1 billion pounds in the indicated category of copper, 1 billion pounds in inferred, and another 1 billion pounds that's historical outside of those two. We also have 25 million ounces of silver and 750,000 ounces of gold.
And if you add it all up, you're talking about a multi-billion dollar in situ deposit.
Right.
And how many shares do you have now in Crown? 45?
44 million.
44 million?
Market cap of 2 million.
It's stunning. It's hard to comprehend.
We're not the only one. It's the whole industry.
I know.
I know. There's no bid for these assets, and yet they're real assets, and the market needs them. Eventually, the economies need to come and develop these copper deposits because there's not enough copper being produced.
And when you go to, we're going to go to the property this year.
Yep.
And we're going to look at this, but there's green everywhere, isn't there, from the oxidation of the copper?
That's right. That's right.
It's almost hard to believe, right? It's almost like we're playing a fast one here on the investing public, but we're not.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy cheap. I saw stock trade at 3.5 yesterday.
No,
like there's shells that have more value.
No,
I know.
That's right.
And our long-term shareholders, they deserve some accolades for being patient.
No, without them, I think, where would we be, right?
Yeah. So and I understand because this was drilled 50 years ago.
Well, there's 2 old mines there, which were producing in the 20s, but Placer came along in the 60s, and they drilled over 400 holes there. They drilled. A
lot cheaper to drill back then, probably. What was copper back then?
Back then, it averaged 50 cents per, basically through the 60s, it averaged 50. It started around 25, got up to like 75, 80. That's when inflation first started kicking in the late 60s.
So copper is probably cheaper today in inflationary terms.
Right. No, I just did some calcs on that, and copper at 60 cents in 1965 would be $4.50 today, and yet we're at $2.60. So the price of commodities continues to fall, and yet demand for commodities continues to grow. Kind of something's askew there. Something doesn't make sense.
And the oxide of this deposit has never been drilled.
Well, it was drilled, but they threw it out because in the 60s they didn't know how to basically process oxides.
And do oxides generally run a little lower in terms of grade than sulfides?
I wouldn't say that. Ours actually runs a little higher. The interesting thing about oxides is they're cheaper to process. You don't have to, go through the full flotation method. Basically, you just heap leach it.
Yeah, so that would be something to consider doing at some point.
Well, if we had $500,000, we could go in there and basically prove up the oxide resource. And we've calculated we could probably build a mill and a pad for about $10 million. So we could be in business for $10 million. But we need $500,000 to drill it, and you can't you just can't find that money these days.
Yeah. And there's mines producing all the time in California.
Oh yeah. No, there's at least 8 producing gold mines in California right now.
Yeah.
But we need higher prices.
Sure.
Until copper prices are back through $3, nobody cares about copper. And they're not going to be building any new copper mines until copper's over $3.
I heard the president of Codelco say 3 of their properties, 3 of their main mines need 270, 280.
That's right.
And here we are, what, 260?
Yep. Plus, they're spending billions just to maintain their current production level. Like a lot of the mines, here's the thing that a lot of people aren't really familiar with. A lot of the mines in Chile have been in production for over 100 years.
So they're antiquated.
And they're getting depleted. The grade keeps falling off. And they're spending billions and billions just to keep these things in production. They're going underground in a number of places. That's what happened at Freeport in Indonesia. It used to be a big open mine. They're now going underground. They've had to spend over $1 billion. Their production levels are basically off 200,000 tons. So, you know, this is happening worldwide. We don't have high enough prices to encourage enough development.
Yeah, I'm going to put a chart up here of per capita demand continues to on top of population growth.
That's the interesting thing. That's the thing most people don't appreciate about copper. It's the reason per capita demand continues to rise is because as countries go from rural to urban, there's more demand for electricity, and electricity can only be basically delivered and used with copper.
Energy is transferred by...
and so as more people go the urban route, as they build cities, there's more demand for copper. So they've actually done studies where how much copper per capita exists in a certain country. And when it's not developed, like it's low, it's like 5 kilograms. And when it is developed, it's over 100. So as the whole globe becomes urbanized, becomes developed, demand for copper continues to grow. Plus, you have population growowing. So demand for copper is it's never going to fall.
And you take a look at India. Like they're just starting to do what China did
30 years ago.
in Africa.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of places in Africa.
No, the future for copper demand is nothing but up.
Yeah.
And there is not enough copper being produced today to meet that demand. And there's not going to be any new mines built until copper prices are over $3.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I've looked at the Crown situation carefully, and I've been a long-time shareholder, or a year-and-a-half shareholder. And you know, it's almost like when there's nothing. You just because you have the deposit, you almost need some drill results or something.
Yeah, like we suffer from not having a lot of news because the deposit's already been found.
It's mind-boggling.
We do not.
That's 43-101.
Yeah, we've got a PEA. We don't have to drill another hole. Now we can, and we can increase the economics on the project, but we don't have to.
Yeah, a lot of people think there's at least another 2 to 3 times more copper there than in the billion.
Oh, easy. No, our PEA is done on just the one deposit. We've got 4. And there's unlimited number of areas there still to be explored. But the interesting thing is, you know, until we get better prices, until the market starts to come back and wants to invest in these things, and I don't think it's going to happen until copper prices get back above $3.
Right. It looked like it looked like it was going.
Well, we were there, and then the trade wars started. You know, and I guess right now the market's thinking we want to see that resolved because they're worried about the economy's rolling over.
Right.
I don't think demand for copper rolls over because you've got this huge push
for electrification.
For urbanization and
more
electricity.
You see, Amazon ordered 100,000 electric trucks.
Right.
100,000.
Right.
Like I think that's half the fleet of FedEx or something like that. Like.
Right.
Mind-boggling.
Yep, it sure is.
So 45 million shares.
Yep.
Charlie William Mother, CWM.
Yep. Market cap $2 million.
It's a cheap option on precious metals and copper.
We're priced like a shell.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.